Let's be brave enough to grow beyond our mindset too, right? To feel a little uncomfortable and to ensure that we have different circles of friends that compel us to grow. My genius friends, I applaud you for being here. I'm so impressed that you would even take the time to listen, to engage, and to intelligently invest in your present and in your future. So yesterday I was visiting with a good friend of mine who told me, Yuri, today is my 10-year anniversary. And I said, for what? And he said, it's been 10 years of sobriety. Of course, I congratulated him because I knew his story well and what a train wreck it had been for the years before that. He had started as a young man experimenting with alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, and over time, some of this experimentation grew to harder drugs, chaos, and finally some prison time. After years in several rehab centers trying to get him away from alcohol and pain pills, he is now 10 years sober and helping others throughout the country to do the exact same thing. I also saw another friend who was celebrating 18 years of sobriety from heroin and pain pills. He too started as a young man watching his older brothers fall into the trap of alcohol, cigarettes, and then other hard drugs. As a young man, he remembers beginning to drink alcohol, beginning to party a little bit, and then beginning to use marijuana and finding a group of friends that in his mind at the time were just awesome, accepting, not judgmental, although he now realizes that some of that acceptance that really felt so good for him was really more about them not really caring about anything or anybody else and just being happy that someone else was doing what they were doing. For years, my friend dabbled in and out of alcohol, drug abuse, ending up in jail and finally in prison after 2 felony charges of drug possession and driving under the influence. At this point, he was actually married, a father, and doing everything he could to provide for his family, while at the same time trying to manage this beast. That's how he described it. That was literally and constantly trying to destroy everything he was attempting to build. He reports being in prison, suffering the excruciating pain of coming off of pain pills, heroin, and other drugs, with his body convulsing, shaking, not being able to sleep or think straight for months. But fortunately for him, he did find people who did care, who could see that despite his challenges, his craziness, and some of his irrational behavior, that he was a man full of cunning, of courage, of energy that had simply gotten caught up in a trap and was using that genius of his and energy in non-productive and non-intelligent ways. This whole time, he was seeing himself as a complete piece of garbage, hopeless, ashamed, irredeemable. But then he began to see himself differently. Where before he saw hopelessness, he now felt hope. Where he saw himself as a horrible human being, he now felt powerful and able to change. And finally, that shame, which he still feels to this day, was replaced by wisdom, compassion, and a powerful way to help people. As a therapist, I have listened to thousands of these stories. Incredible people like you, like him, like me, all caught up in a couple of bad decisions that inevitably grow, become larger in size, gain some momentum, and can at times quickly become a gigantic part of our lives, like that beast that my friend talked about. That beast slowly becoming a greater part of his thinking, feeling, and his social life, until at some point these poor people are doing things that they never thought they would do. Stealing, lying, cheating, killing some of them, and they're caught up in a trap. The hopelessness and the despair grows, and as a result, so does their habit, and what ultimately becomes a full mental and physical addiction. People say that the doors of history turn on very small hinges. And my beautiful friends, so it is with your life and your choices. Small choices lead to big outcomes, so keep your head up, your eyes open, and sharpen up your mind a little bit so that you can ultimately make decisions that will bring you more freedom, more joy, and wholesome pride and honor to your life, instead of getting caught up in traps that may engulf and push you down. As I was listening to my good friends tell me their story, a couple of themes, a couple of ideas seemed to stick out to me that I think you should know about. One, my friends thought that for a moment they were different and maybe even invincible. Even though they had seen tragic things happen to their friends in school, in their homes, with drugs and alcohol, in their minds they thought to themselves, that's not going to be me. I'm smarter than that. I'm never going to drink and drive. I'm never going to use something harder than alcohol or pot. I'll stop later. This isn't going to take over my life. Now, don't get me wrong. I loved confidence, but there's a difference between confidence and ignorance. And in their case, and in thousands of others, this is a common theme. They think they're above or better than the ones they've seen crash and burn. No one starts using alcohol, drugs, vaping, or using tobacco thinking, this will likely cost me thousands of hours and dollars, jail, prison, family and relationship problems at school, etc. They start thinking it's going to be fun, exciting, a one-time thing. But this is a pattern. And there is a pattern here, my friends, and intelligent people like you can spot these patterns and have the wisdom to avoid the toxic ones. 2, our choices become social circles. What I mean is that we love a good echo chamber. And what I mean by that is that we love to be surrounded by people that feel, think, and do what we do. We love to feel accepted. We love to feel understood and not judged. And when we're around people who think, feel, and do what we do, they're not really judging us, right? Because we're in sync. And so these circles oftentimes can raise us and shoot us up into the moon, and sometimes they can be like a drain. Or like my good friend used to say, like a bucket of crabs. And whenever one of the crabs is trying to get out of that bucket, the other crabs just pull that crab back down. So just be aware of that. Yes, we love to be accepted. Yes, we love to feel comfortable. But let's be brave enough to grow beyond our mindset too, right? To feel a little uncomfortable and to ensure that we have different circles of friends that compel us to grow. To be a little bit more intelligent instead of just pushing them away because they don't think or do or agree with what you are doing. 3, roaches thrive in the dark. I remember a while back, I lived in a really poor area in New Jersey, and there were lots of roaches in these apartments where I lived. And the moment that we would walk into that house and we would turn on that light, those little, actually they weren't little, some of them were gigantic. They would all scurry back into the dark. And so it is with us and our secrets. People who begin to experiment with vaping, cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, or who are even attempting to stop or slow down often try to do this all by themselves, to do it in their heads. They don't want to tell anyone because they're afraid they're going to get into trouble or afraid that people are going to be disappointed or that they're going to be judged. And as a result, they keep trying, which is awesome, by the way. And I absolutely applaud them for every attempt that they or you are making. But I've just found that until they work through their own ego, their own pride, and turn on the lights, that the behavior ends up growing and spreading despite their best efforts and good intentions. So my friend, use the strength, wisdom, and experience of others to climb back out of the hole that we sometimes dig for ourselves. My friend, I hope you can hear me and feel me here. I am not here to scare you or to convince you to do or not to do something. This is your life, and you ultimately end up deciding on the quality of life that you want to live, what you will spend your life doing, what you will pursue, what you will value. This is your job. This is what you're born to do. You are born to craft a life that you can look forward to, and a life that you can look back and say, man, that was awesome. I lived greatly, courageously. I have contributed to where I came from. I've lifted myself and others I've sacrificed for great causes. I have deliberately added to my intelligence and wisdom. I have elevated my condition in life. I have climbed the mountains in my life. I will live a life that my children will want to emulate and copy. I make decisions that enhance my life, that create opportunity, that open doors, that build a future for me, instead of digging holes for myself or shooting myself in the foot, or make decisions that take away my freedom and that cause me to hide in shame and embarrassment. So my plea with you today is simple. Be intelligent. Be wise. Yes, you are unique. Yes, you are beautiful, awesome, radical, brilliant. you are human as well, a biological being. And as a result, you are susceptible to the same challenges that we all are. And when you consistently place something into your body that is crafted to capture you, to ensnare your brain and your body like a trap, something that has been proven for millennia to create a physical dependency or a mental addiction, be wise and humble enough to recognize that we are not immune, because that would be unreasonable. Right? So if you yourself are struggling in this area, please consider what I have to say. Bring your struggle to the light, to a parent, to a friend, to a counselor, a teacher, a religious leader, a family member that you respect, and find strength in their support, in their wisdom, in their help. Remember that you are the creator of your social circles. Be a positive force wherever you are, and be brave enough to expand your circles of friends to include people that may not agree with what you're doing and that may stretch you to grow. If you have friends that are using drugs and alcohol and you are considering using those as well, I hope that you can take a moment to use your best mind and to consider the words and the experiences that I've just shared with you. Man, life is hard enough with enough suffering in it. Consider not adding more difficulty or misery to it. And if you have decided and chosen not to ever use drugs or alcohol, man, I'd simply say, I believe that is a wise decision for you right now and for your future. Remember that the purpose of life is to be awake, to be deliberate, to be mindful, to be conscious instead of mindless and unconscious. The key for you is to learn to use that incredible body and brain as an instrument for your happiness and success, instead of feeding your brain and body things that will ultimately cause it to function poorly and that can harm it. Use your best mind, your best ideas, your best reasoning, the best information available. Be like a scientist, like an attorney in a classroom, and look at the evidence, look at the history, look at the experience of people, and then move forward confidently in the path that will inspire your life and the life of others around you. My friend, be wise and be so incredibly cool.